everyone.
Hello, hello.
It's so nice to see you all. My name is Aleya Kassam. I will host this afternoon's conversation. It's such an honor to invite Kalaf Epalanga, first time ever to Nairobi, right? The Africa book launch, did I mention that already? At Macondo. So I really want to encourage you to celebrate this wonderful author in all the ways that celebration means for you, whether it's food or drinks, or maybe to ask him what it is. Kalaf, how do you celebrate? Let's start there, actually.
Hello. How you guys doing? How I celebrate? Depends. The books, I'm just so happy that I finished, that when the book gets released, it's just a sense of relief, you know, like I don't do that much. It's just like, okay, finally, I managed to go through it, and it's now published, and now it's someone else's problem. Right. Yeah. The book doesn't belong to me anymore. That's how I feel literature. It's just like a service that I give to the stories, to the characters, and once I'm done and deliver it, it's now with the readers, and the readers will give them life, will carry them. Yeah, that's how I approached.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, we should start with me introducing you, actually. So this is the introduction. He tried to buy Lisbon for half price. He makes music, wins awards with his band, but says that he's neither a singer nor a musician. Who is Kalaf Epalanga? Let us begin there. Who is Kalaf? Will you tell us?
Well, I'm the son of one woman called Fatima and one guy called Felix, the grandson of one guy called Epalanga. And I write. I'm a father of 3 wonderful kids, and I try to make them proud. It's this question of who am I? Like, I usually don't necessarily approach things that way, because I believe like we are in the process of discovering ourselves, and every situation, every moment in our lives somehow get us closer to who we are, absolutely. And yeah, so I feel like I'm getting to know my parents better now, and understanding through that process, understanding a little bit about myself as well. And I think like that process got to a different stage when I became a father. I somehow became less judgmental and more welcoming to the changes of life. And and also like seeing your parents getting older and becoming more fragile, somehow you became more patient. So I'm in this process of finding out who am I. But in the process, I have certain things that I know that I can do well. Singing is not one of them. But somehow, thank God to technology, I can make music and entertain people with it.
Fantastic. So Kalaf, we heard the excerpt of the sort of early pages in the book, and it left at such a fantastic cliffhanger. Could you tell us, what the book is about, and also perhaps how the book might have changed you in the process of writing it or making it?
Well, I don't know if there are writers in the room. Most of the writers that I know share this same feeling. Usually we have 2 or 3 books being developed at the same time. Yeah, we have 2 or 3 stories that we are somehow getting in and out. Because writing a book there are different stages. Like the most beautiful stage is when the idea strikes you, and you know exactly like how you will tell it and how what it's about per se. And then there's a process of getting that into the paper. And that's a very painful process. Yeah? And usually it's not so much about you discovering things, unless it's a book that is very personal and you just go deep into your feelings. But this book is not one of those. Yeah? It's even though I use my parts of my biography as I give to one of the characters. It has my name, has a band that has also the same name as my band, but it's not necessarily about me. I was just trying to tell a story, and the story that I was trying to tell is the biography of kuduro. Kuduro is this music genre, dance music genre, that was created in Angola in the early 90s. And this music portrays the feeling of a generation, because this is the music that was created during the Civil War by a generation that had very little hope in the future. So it's the type of music that you really live the moment. It's a music that is very hectic. The BPM is 140 BPM. If you can ask the percussionists how to understand BPMs, but it's very fast and somehow portrays the society as well. If you get to Luanda, you have that feeling of urgency that life can finish or end at any given moment. So you have that sense of urgency in you. So that kuduro represents that. So I wanted to to tell a story of that, because I think, I don't know when he was here, but José Eduardo Agualusa is a good friend of mine. I was on a panel, more or less like this one, in Brazil, and he asked me to tell about kuduro, and the audience was Afro-Brazilians. And the majority of the people in the audience had no idea what kuduro was, and had very little idea how the contemporary Angola is. Yeah, so I felt in the end of that panel, because I went very didactic and explaining exactly what it is, who created, and all that. And in the end, Agualusa said, you should write the biography of kuduro to help people to understand. And but at the time I was touring, I didn't have time to go to Angola and chase musicians that don't want to be found. They are very really kuduro artists are really specific. So I decided to tell that story through my experience with kuduro. I was making a version of it, because in Lisbon there is a large Angolan community. So kuduro is also very present in Lisbon. So I decided to tell a version of that music genre through the eyes of someone that resembles me. And on the process, I wanted also to, because I love books that have subplots, multi-layers that you can somehow dig and find out by every read you give, you discover a hidden story or an idea that was somehow placed there and you didn't cut on your first read. So on the first layer, I had this story of kuduro, and then I decided to tell the story of kuduro. I had also to tell the story of migration, because this is a music genre that was created largely outside of Angola, was brought to Europe by migrants like myself, and also by telling the story of migration, I had also to paint somehow a picture of how certain public infrastructures, big infrastructures, dictate and defines the life of a society. In the case of Angolan or African immigrants in Portugal, was when, let me just go back a little bit. The first group arrived in the 60s to build the metropolitan, and they were largely Cabo Verdean immigrants, and they didn't have infrastructures. They were not really welcomed in certain neighborhoods, so they create some slums around the large cities. In this case, Lisbon. So you had like around the city, you had slums, favelas. Yeah? And then when Portugal joined the European Union, one of the things that the government decided was to eradicate those slums and replace them with projects, like more or less in America. Like you have all these 10-story buildings for those communities. And that process started more or less in the 80s, late 80s, until 93, 94. So on those slums, you had basically the slums for Angolans, Cabo Verdeans, and also gypsies, and some low-class Portuguese families. So when the government built those infrastructures, those neighborhoods, those cities, they put everybody in the same neighborhoods. And of course, we had some cultural clashes. And at the same time, we also had creativity, music being born. And that from that music, from that particular situation, I believe kuduro also benefit and somehow evolved the way it was, because those neighborhoods nurtured a music genre that I'm very fond of, which is kizomba. I don't know if you are familiar with kizomba, but that was basically the neighborhoods that nurtured this music genre. And the kizomba places or clubs is where kuduro also was born. So from the history of migration, public infrastructures, and then a music genre, the book more or less goes around those topics and tells a story of, a group of people.
It's the form of the book is so distinct. It feels like it feels sometimes like a little bit like memoir. There's a little bit of romance. It feels encyclopedic, like you really, really get the texture and the flavor of the music and the histories. And I'd really, one of the things I found myself doing when I began reading is like opening my playlist, opening Spotify on my phone, and like now listening, like putting the book down and being like, okay, now let's listen to some kuduro. Coming back, okay, now let's listen to some kizomba. And even the structure of it, like I could hear almost, I'm not a musician, but I could hear almost the verse, and then we go back to the hook, and like even in the structure of the book, it was really, really beautiful. How did you approach that, the actual writing of it?
Usually I like, well, the reason why I became a writer was because I wanted to read stories that were not published. I think a lot of writers share the same feeling as well. And there's not so much books written about music. and of course, it's impossible to write about music without being encyclopedic. My English is very bad. I apologize. So that process, I had that in mind. Yeah. So I had to tell the story and put it information, a lot of information, too much information, to be honest. On this translation, I trimmed down a lot of information that was on the original, on the Portuguese edition. Sorry about that, but I think it's much better now. It's more fluid because I had time. I had like 5 years in order to figure out the best balance between those three parts, like a memoir, a romance, and also oh my God.
The musical history.
Yeah, musical history, encyclopedic aspect of the story. I don't consider myself a musician, but I love what DJs do. And DJs, they have this sense of reading the room. Yeah, so they start the evening, usually people, I don't know, I believe everybody here is an adult and go out to a club, yeah? So when you go to a club, usually you arrive there, I don't know, 11 p.m., very shy, like you just stand on the corners, like you go to a bar, get a drink, and just try to see who gets to the dance floor first, yeah? And the DJ knows that, yeah? And he will play songs that he will know that will get people to the dance floor, and of course, he also knows around 1 a.m. when everybody's a bit more tipsy, certain songs will be played. All that is curated, and all that is with purpose, yeah? So I approach this book with the same sense, and I try to conduct and give the reader some feelings and emotions like a DJ will do.
You really get I really get that feeling, like the shaping of energy, like like you mentioned, the DJ, like first you're shy and maybe tentative, and then there's a frantic energy, and then the beat drops, and so it was so skillfully done. I really enjoyed that experience of reading that in the book. Kalaf, could you share a little bit about what the translation process was like? Because I think, one of the things about Macondo is we're trying to navigate, transcend languages. What are the things that were important to you in this process? Are there textures that got lost?
I find translation as the ultimate editor, the translator, yeah? Because usually, and believe me, the book usually goes through 5 hands before gets published. Yeah, the writer, his trusted reader, could be either a sibling or a friend that reads the manuscript and say, yeah, this is good enough, taps in the back, please go ahead, publish it. Usually I don't trust that person. Yeah, because they have an agenda, like they want to please you. And then gets to the publisher reads, and the publisher also has an agenda because he's selling books. So he say, oh yeah, this story will sell and stuff like that. It's not necessarily very good for the book itself, yeah, for your story. And then gets to the hands of the revisers that spot the mistakes, the grammar, and all that. In English you say proofreaders, yeah, copy editors. Oh, sorry, the editor and then the proofreader. So 2 more people, usually employees of the publishing house, that are answering the publisher. Yeah. So all this process, usually the writer, depending on the person, either is someone that is very protective of the story, or someone that really is eager to, again, get published, go out there, festivals and all these, and can somehow rush the process. Yeah. I believe when you are working with a translator, because the translator also has his name on the book, usually you share responsibilities with that person. Yeah, that person is there not with the agenda of the publisher, especially if you pick the translator. Sometimes you don't have that luck. Yeah, for example, on this case, I picked the translator because I knew the work is the same translator as Agualusa. I read what he translated with Agualusa. I could read the two. I read the Portuguese and I read the English, and of course, I must say the English is much better. No, I'm not being fair with Agualusa, but true is that sometimes you have this. It's more clear somehow, like you really you take out what is not necessary out of a sentence or out of a chapter. Oh my God, so many kids.
It's so wonderful. Welcome, fellow Macondites. Karibu sana, make yourselves comfortable. You've come to a great session. You've come to the right one. They're all good.
Now I need to be careful with my words. Yeah, but this process is really interesting because if you know and can also read what the translator can write, because usually for example, if it's in Chinese or any other language that I don't read, you have to trust that the person that your publisher choose will do a great job. But in this case, it was very intimate, and we went. He first translated, and because my publisher don't read Portuguese, so he translated, gave to the publisher gave the notes, came back to me, I work over those notes, sent back to the translator. So it was a 2 years process, very long, but I felt necessary. I think books cannot be rushed. At least this is my opinion. I prefer when things somehow are simmering like a good stew, like a good mama stew. It's just there for hours and hours and hours. I love really good fast food every now and then, don't get me wrong, but I prefer like when something's more like, cooked for hours.
Time to marinate and the flavors get
Absolutely.
in there. Yeah. So I think I'll ask you one last question before we invite the audience. This year we're thinking about this theme of disrupting home.
Okay.
And, Kalaf, you're really like the thing that kept coming to my mind is how music can be home too. In this, the way you describe kuduro, people who perhaps are not in the spaces that they considered home find new homes, and music is one of those ways that they do it. I wonder what are the ways in which this novel might help us disrupt the idea of home?
Well, there are again different layers, because sometimes the idea of displacement is very present on my literature, because I'm physically living outside of my home country. But I also, in my country, while I was living there, I experienced and I witnessed a lot of displacement. People, because of the Civil War, they were misplaced and had to live in different areas. So with that in mind, I try to nurture and also hold something that goes beyond the physical space. The idea of home that is somehow represented on a meal, or the hug of your loved ones, or a song as well. So because again, when you grew up on a country in war, you don't get attached to things. You somehow you have to live with the idea that what is here today might not be here tomorrow. So when I moved to Europe, I had also that because I witnessed that. I saw that the fragility of our lives. Yeah, things can end very quick. So building home then becomes something else. Yeah, because you invest on other things beside, bricks and a roof. Yeah, walls and a roof. So you try to engage and try to hold into feelings and sentiments of what home represents. I have this image that is very every now and then I go back to it when I try to write, because I try to reproduce this feeling of finding home on the most remote places, yeah, and somehow observing how people devote themselves to kizomba, which is a dance. I don't know how is in Kenya.
Yes, we have kizomba.
Yes,
Yeah, clubs.
but I want to know, like, Kenyan pop music. You dance together, like you have like
No, we don't dance close. Not like that.
no, like that, no,
Not like that.
not like
But it
kizomba.
not yet. Right? Not yet.
What
But
is
kizomba
what
has
is
become
Kenyan?
very popular.
Yeah, what is Kenyan pop music? What
It's
what's the name?
genge. It's got a little bit more like group
Genge.
dance energy.
Yeah,
It's very percussive. It's got attitude and swag,
yeah.
and it's got a point of view. How would you describe it, my fellow Kenyans?
No romantic.
There's no romance.
Okay.
Oh no, what does this say about us? It's not sensual. That's the right word.
Okay.
We don't.
But
Yeah.
but
Well,
but
maybe, but
but
that's Nairobi music.
but let me give some order in the room. Let me give some order. Kizomba is not necessarily sensual though. Yeah, because kizomba, we learn how to dance with our parents. Yeah, usually the steps you learn, like like the child puts their feet on the parents' feet. That's how you learn the steps. So isn't like you can get to that way. Yeah, you can go sensual, absolutely, but it's not the entry point. It's very like it's like family dancing. Yeah, yeah. So
That's
just
beautiful.
to put some
And
order in the room. Yeah,
and
yeah,
I think if we got out of Nairobi, maybe we would have forms that are similar.
yeah. So and when I moved to Portugal, I because when you are in your home country, yeah, again, this is something that on the backyards of everybody's house, you play music, everybody dance together, so you don't really analyze it like that. So when I was again far from home, I felt like that I had to analyze it. I had to process what is this thing, what is so important to us. And what I noticed, usually the professions that immigrants do, either constructions, restaurants, and cleaning, yeah, which is the bottom of society, yeah. Like that's what people like mostly the jobs that are available to immigrants. And usually on those jobs, you lose this sense of dignity. Yeah, like you feel like you are mistreated, people are not respecting you, and you even like because I also work on constructions and I hate it because usually it's someone that has a lower IQ than you that is in charge, and they just say like, bring those bricks, bring more cement, and they usually don't call you by your name. They just use like the worst names in the book to throw at you, and you leave this from Monday to Friday, yeah. But then comes Friday, and you go home, you take a shower, you put your best clothes, you shine your shoes, go down to the street to your either your friend or your neighborhood barber, get your hair done, and then off you go to the club, yeah. And when you get there, somehow you become you again, yeah. You regain your sense of dignity, yeah, your sense of self. So kizomba represents this to me. Yeah, it's very important. It's our ultimate survival kit, yeah, for migrants. Of course, in Angola, it's pop music. It's like everybody listen, from the president to the cleaners. Yeah, very democratic. Same songs. Yeah, there's no even kizomba for the elite and kizomba for the lower class. No. The same songs. Everybody listen to it and everybody dance to it. So it's very. Yeah. What is the Kenya national food? No,
The national food. Oh, that's contentious.
Like
I shall let someone else answer.
Me as first time in Kenya, what I need to try?
What must you eat?
What?
Let's nyama choma.
Nyama choma.
Nyama choma, roasted meat.
Roasted meat.
Roasted, so you select the cut that you want.
Okay.
Yeah. You then, he puts it on the grill. It's roasted, normally roasted goat. You can smell like the sizzle and the, it just... Did I hear the fat? The what?
She's correct, no? Yeah.
And then it's served on it's served it's very simple, but, you serve with salt, kachumbari, which is tomatoes, onions, and coriander. You eat with your fingers, you wash your hands.
Yeah.
You eat with your fingers and your hands.
Kids, very important. Wash your hands.
You wash your hands. Actually, yes. Not just children, also adults. And again, it's the democratic, if you can afford nyama choma, there's nyama choma joints across all sections of society. The elite nyama choma joints and the,
Well, very eloquent put it. Kizomba is like nyama choma.
I love that. And that's a great place to invite the audience to ask questions, share comments, thoughts. Kizomba is like nyama choma. You heard it here first. Welcome. Anybody would like to ask any questions? We've got about maybe another 20 minutes. I'm going to go a little bit over time because we started late.
There is a microphone on the back. Just raise your hand.
Yeah. And don't feel shy. Yes. We have one here. And please do share your name. And yeah, we'd love to know who you are.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for an amazing talk. My name is Sibo. I'm Zimbabwean Kenyan. My question is about your identity as, both a writer and, someone who's in music. Do you ever feel like, what's the relationship between the two in terms of how you feel about them? Do you ever feel like, this season I'm more of a writer, this season I'm more in music? Do you feel like there's sometimes tension between the two things, or it's more harmonious? I just wanted to hear more about your creative process and how you weave between the two things. Yeah.
Well, music is quicker. Yeah, so usually I'm lucky enough that I can produce music and get out there in a really relatively quick process. The process of making a song and release it now with Spotify and all that, it can take 4 weeks. Yeah. And a book, I never saw anything going less than, like even if you are really, really lucky, no less than 12 months, no less than that. Can be quicker, but yeah, the quality you will see the quality of on the book, from cover, like the paper, the letter, the type, like that's all these little things, all these little details take time. Yeah, so I like the process of the book because it's longer, and also with when we have music, especially if you work with pop music, you are as good as your last one. Soon as you release it, the listener is asking, "Oh, when is coming the next one?" Yeah, and usually you have one summer and that's it. Yeah, put it in European terms. Yeah, they have this like you are good on that summer. Next summer you need to come up with something else. Books, like again, I released this book in Portugal in 2017, and it's coming out now in different parts of the world. So yeah, I prefer this process. So I see myself as a writer first, because even with music, I approach as a storyteller. I tell a story, come up with a concept, and convince other people to sing it, because I'm a bad singer. And that's more or less my process. So I'm lucky enough that I have people that like to sing my songs and sing my lyrics, but I don't like the tempo, the speed that goes with the music industry. I prefer the literature because I can somehow have a hold on time and yeah, and practice patience, because I think you need to practice patience when you are a writer.
Hi, my name is Abdueli and I am from Still I Rise International School, Somali, Kenya. I want to ask you, why did you immigrate from Angola to Portugal? That's my question.
That's a good one. That's a good question. Well, the simple answer would be I was approaching 18, and my country was at war. So my mother, fearing for my life, say, it's better that you leave the country. So that's one side of the story, which is true. The second is, I would say, probably I will leave anyways, because for study, it's better to get education elsewhere and return to your country with a European degree, and you somehow have a better chance. So it was a mix of the two, the war and get a better education to return to Angola. One more from a student. They're winning, huh? They're like,
Yeah, my name is Mugisha. I
hi.
would like to ask a question. Are you still a musician and an author?
Well, I stopped performing. I don't tour anymore because I got tired of it. But I work with music still. I have I'm part of a collective of people that create music, that we have our own record label, and yeah, we do music. Because I also, one of the things that I like in music is a collective process. Usually I'm in a room with, arrangers, composers, pianists, guitarists. So it's a more sharing process. When I write, usually I'm by myself, write and then send to the publisher, and then goes to end until the book gets out, whatever, 2 years later. Yeah, but the music is more a collective process, so I enjoy it a lot. So I think I will never quit music because of that. It's very instigating. I'm in a room, I tell an idea, someone brings a melody, and somehow we build a song out of it. So it's a process that I enjoyed a lot.
Yeah, that collaborative process. Yeah. And in a way, I think also the experience of the two art forms. One is a community. When you're listening to music, often you're listening with other people, and when you're reading, you're often reading it on your own. Yeah. So it's interesting. Any other questions? Yes? Oh, there's several. Okay.
Yeah. There's one here. I saw two hands there.
Hi, my name is Tibian. I noticed there is displacement in your theme or the story, and then there is war in your story, and then there is migration, and I'm actually more interested now in return. I'm wondering, where do you stand in return, and what do you have to say about the return of home, return of the narrative we have or you have with displacement, and yeah, just the return.
Okay. Thank you. You know, the beautiful thing about return, well, I found it beautiful, but some people find it really tragic. The beautiful thing is when you return, the place is no longer the same as you have on your memory. And I found that very refreshing in a way. Yeah, it meant that people also evolved, yeah, and life also happened with your absence. Yeah, and as a writer, it's a very interesting place to start a story, for example. Yeah, every time I go to even if it's just like 6 months apart, yeah, usually that's more or less the time that I take on my returns to Angola. Every time I return, there is either a new slang, a new song, a new dance. Yeah, someone got married, someone passed away. Yeah, so there's always life happening. Yeah, so return. You never return. You return to an idea probably, but as soon as you land, you get surprised. Yeah, you get you need to shut what you brought and embrace the new. Yeah, embrace the new reality. Yeah, so I don't think I have ever had returned to a place that was waiting for me. Yeah, it was always moving and changing, and I love that change. Yeah, knowing that next time I'm back in Nairobi, I didn't got the names of the two kids that made questions, but those two kids probably will be different, and I love that idea. Yeah, I love the process that people change and things change. So.
Thank you, Kalaf. That's a good presentation. Just wondering about the title of your book. You know what I want to ask? Yeah. Who was doubting that whites can dance? Is it for you, or in your writing? Is it a statement of culture, a statement of humanizing a continent?
Yeah.
What's that process? What's that process like?
And I'm excited for when he gets to that point in the book.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for reading. I heard you yesterday, and today was very... Because I feel like when someone is reading out loud, it's like it's not my story. It's just it's the reader's story. It's someone, the one that is reading on that moment, that's his story. I love that. And you guys made me felt that. So, the title.
Whites Can Dance 2 is the title.
Yeah. This title was also was a gift. Yeah, I didn't come up with this title, but was a gift from Agualusa, in fact, because he wanted to use is a proverb. It's an Angolan proverb, and I twisted the proverb. The original proverb is whites know good songs as well, knows how to sing too. And the meaning of the proverb is basically we shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Yeah, that's literally the meaning. But when I put it on the book, it's somewhere in the book, the explanation of the proverb. I felt like when you have in those conversations, especially when you have like really intellectual, smart people that really lies to you about how many books they read per year. Yeah, when they come to me about let's say the first layer of the title, I immediately know if they read it or not. Yeah, so kind of it's my private joke, like. So then I can engage with that person on whatever level I decided, my humor decided to engage with him. Yeah, but then when I was digging a little bit more on this proverb and the meaning of this proverb, I also, because again, this is the story of migration. Yeah. And usually when migrants get to Europe, we are judged immediately. Yeah. We show our African passports immediately. Oh, they're coming here to get our jobs, or they're coming to whatever reason, but never the reason that brought us there. Yeah. So this is not only necessarily about the ability of the lack of white people on a dance floor, but it's more of asking or suggesting that we should look at the other with more generosity. Yeah, because everybody brings a reason, brings a story to make. Because I don't know any migrant that do that with let's say, without usually the motivation. No one leaves his home without a really strong motivation. Yeah, it's never a choice, or there's always a reason, because everybody that I know, every Angolan that I know would love to be in Angola and not have to leave for whatever reason.
It's like that really beautiful poem by Warsan. No one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark.
Yeah.
In whatever way that means for you. I think we've got time for maybe 3 more questions.
Yeah, there's one lady on the back that was raising her hand. No, I saw the one with the scarf. Maybe she gave up. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Michael Makuch, and I want to ask, who inspired you to be an author?
Who inspired me? Well, there are a lot of people inspires me to this day. But I would say living abroad, yeah, living outside of my home country, and try to remember things, yeah, trying to not forget. That was definitely one of the strongest motivations, just to keep my memory alive. I forget things very quickly. So I understood very well, like when I was around your age, that I knew how to write, like in school when your professor asked you to go, what's the name in English?
To write an essay?
Yeah, essay. I always loved those things because I could really shine and flex with the other colleagues that I could write some good essays. So I brought that with me. I didn't want to be a writer per se, but I knew what I could write. So when I was in Europe, trying to remember, like, oh, what, you know, that episode, like that play, when I went to the beach that week with my friends, what happened there? I tried to put that into paper to not forget. That's one of the motivations. And then secondly, when I became a reader and reading more and more and more, I was motivated by the lack of stories that I would love to read. Yeah, the lack of stories of people that look like me, that had my experiences. For example, there's not really that much books that praise kizomba in my culture, for example. And I found kizomba so important. Like kizomba is the
nyama choma.
nyama choma, and nyama choma is very important, as you know. I had to write it. I had to put it. I had to say this is important. Like.
Beautiful. Let's go to this side. There's.
Thank you. My name is Mr. Raima. I'm an artist. I do poetry. There is a question I want to ask. You say you are a writer and a musician at the same time. But if you ask a kid in primary that he name any musician or an artist or a singer you know in the world, he can mention many. But when you tell him to mention a writer, it's very hard. So it's like writing culture or maybe reading culture is very low, especially let me say in Kenya where I am. You can go in like 10 houses of people went to school up to a degree and you cannot find even a book. So what can you do as a writer to plant interest of reading in people? Thank you.
I don't know if I understood the question, but
How do you encourage reading culture?
why I encourage reading culture? How?
As a writer, how do you do that?
Well, I'm not judgmental. Yeah. I usually, I put this way. Usually, it's because the person that is not necessarily engaged with literature is because they didn't find the books for them. Yeah, I really believe that. Yeah, because once you find the book that really gets you, you read it. Yeah, and you will never forget. Yeah, so sometimes it's a question of be patient. Yeah, and again, I really respect, for example, people that love music. Yeah, because music for me is an art form that brings also the oral tradition in African societies. Yeah, we usually, for example, in my family, I'm a published author, but I'm not the best storyteller. I don't know if you know what that means to you. Yeah, you might be like the one that got it there, and somehow, for whatever reason, you get published, but doesn't mean that you are a good storyteller. Yeah, and before me, in my family, there's like 5 very good, yeah, very good ones. To a point, when I'm there, I'm mostly silent because they're so good. Yeah, sometimes I even steal their stories. Someone has to publish. Yeah. Otherwise, we will lose it. Yeah, but I respect people's time. Yeah, that's why it's very important. When we are at the age of those kids here, that we give them diversities in terms of authors, yeah? Because you can start with Dostoevsky and stuff like that, and you have that, and this is too complicated, yeah? You cannot really understand it. But then you give him Achebe, is easier for them because you can relate their stories that somehow are from their surroundings, yeah? For me, it was South American literature, yeah? Like we have a Colombian here representative, like Brazilian literature, Colombian literature was the one that really got me, yeah? Because there were stories there that were very close to what I experienced on my surroundings, and also very close to the stories that I heard my elders telling me. Somehow that's how I got into literature. But if you ask me about Russian literature, yeah, I know the obvious ones, but I'm not really into that. So I always say, everyone has the book for him. It's just a question of finding it.
Whew. And I think that's the perfect place, really, to come to an end of this session.